Okay, what's the number one reason for the Eagles' 3-game slide? Also, give me your reaction to Sirianni's tone.
I think he was tired, annoyed, kind of a little regretful that he was doing this interview and all of it. So I wouldn't read more into, because if what you're asking me is his lack of like passionate bang the table defense.
It hit my radar.
He actually handled it well.
I thought he handled it
off
fine.
on him.
I think Wilds would have rather he went off on him. Like, this is outrageous. I just think it's like, Jesus. I mean,
Win as a team.
Yeah, I mean, so I just thought he was just kind of getting through it.
Okay.
But to answer this question, biggest reason for the Eagles' 3-game slide, bad offense. And that falls primarily on the quarterback and the offensive-minded head coach. That's just, to me, what is fair and how we would treat any team in this situation. Like, again, it's not quite apples to apples, but if the Chiefs, who are in the midst of a slide as well, but if it was clearly because the offense is not performing, because they're averaging 18 points per game, because in the last 10 quarters they had scored 34 total points, we would say, most likely, Patrick and or Andy need to figure it out. And so, listen, this is why I think it is, while benching him for Tanner McKee is ridiculous, I would be greatly concerned if I were Philadelphia. We talk a lot about the supernatural funk and vibes and all of that.
Sure.
What is true about that year is Jalen Hurts fell off after the bye. And the defense got worse as well. But this is Jalen Hurts that season. Coming off a Super Bowl appearance, team had a good record, but it seemed like things were off leading into the bye. And then after the bye, which was in Week 10, his play fell off considerably. Jalen Hurts this year, after their bye, which was in Week 9, the high was higher and the lows have been lower. And so the team, while it has not yet lost 5 of 6, what I would say is this, Brew. This team, going into the Cowboys game, had lost twice in its previous 25 games Jalen played, and 3 times total in its previous, 27 games or whatever it was. And now they've lost 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. So I would be also concerned about how this type of losing for a team that has not looked. The last time they lost a bunch, they fell apart entirely. Mm-hmm. That's what would add to my concern.
Since he's your guy, I'm going to let you have the first shot. Is he,
I mean, I have a real answer. Against the Chargers, he turned the ball over 5 times.
He was the reason for that.
He was the reason.
Yes.
The Bears I thought, look, he wasn't great in the Bears game. He'd turn over there. The Bears
he had 2 touchdown passes.
Bears ran for 281 yards. It's the first time they had back 2 100-yard rushers in the same game since 1985. And the Cowboys, they just, hit that cold streak.
He played
Bears
well.
game,
He played well against the Cowboys.
In the first half.
Well, for 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
And then they had just kept on punting the ball.
Am I wrong? In the Bears game, he had 2 turnovers as well.
Do you have 2 or 1
Well, they
interception?
stole the
one interception.
and they stole the tush push.
Oh, yes, the tush.
Yeah,
yes,
so
the
there's
tush
a fumble and a pick.
Also, I want to play by the rules of the show. When you got the Raiders coming to town, this all feels like spinning your wheels of angst.
Yeah, look, I certainly expect them to beat Knicks Raiders. All right, but 2 years ago.
The Raiders.
Well, 2 years ago when they lost to Arizona, right? Arizona was coming into town. You thought they were going to get right, and they didn't.
Lost to the Giants.
Yeah, in that funk.
Yeah.
So, look, Jalen was the reason they lost the last game, no doubt. 5 turnovers, 31 pass rating speaks for itself. But I don't blame the whole 3-game losing streak on him. But I do agree with you, it's the offense, period. Because he was, like I said, he played fine against Dallas. He was okay, he had his issues against Chicago. But the offense, and I think Kevin Patullo, I'm putting a lot of this on him. Because last year, even though it wasn't a phenomenal offense, it was better. It was 7th in the league in scoring. Now it's like 19th in the league in scoring. That's him. I put a lot of it on the offensive line just being banged up. Lane Johnson has missed the last 3 games. They've lost the last 3 games. They're 15-26 when he doesn't play. And they're great, obviously, when he does play. So that's not a sexy answer, but it's true. The offensive line struggles are an issue. And I think it's not only affecting Jalen, but it's affecting Saquon, which is their run game. So I mainly look at the line, the lack of run game because of it. And then Kevin Patullo, at some point, switching offensive coordinators every year will get to you. And
yeah, listen, first off, saying that Jalen Hurts had 5 turnovers is also misleading, dude. The guy picked up a fumble and then was immediately walloped and then fumbled the ball. So, like, you got to be a little bit more forgiving there. Devontae Smith literally slipped and fell down. That's what led to the interception. And A.J. Brown dropped the ball that then led to the interception. And then he also dropped a touchdown pass, okay? So you can just say, oh, well, Jalen Hurts lost because he had turned the ball over 5 times. And it's like, it's not really the whole story. Does Jalen Hurts need to be better? Absolutely. But I'll just replay this clip. I'm not going to do the Orlovsky one where he actually was very positive about the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I'll play the Greg Cosell clip because it's a lot shorter.
Things that, I see with that teams run in the league that the Eagles have not really run this year. 4 strong concepts. They had flood concepts. They had concepts. They had concepts that present defined reads and throws for the quarterback. It was the best game of the season in terms of what they did in the pass game from a concept standpoint. It's easy after the fact because of 4 turnovers to say he played poorly. And I think we accept that he'll miss a few things, just that he doesn't throw it. That's just who he is. That part of who he is will not change at this point in his career. I actually did not think he played badly. It's easy to say, people listening might think, what are you, out of your mind? And it's easy after the fact to say that. But, I thought the 28-yard throw he made to Smith in overtime was his best throw of the season. Most pass games, when you watch a pass game that's good, it's a combination of the concepts and the quarterback executing the concepts. We tend to look at, the quarterback played great if he completes balls. But a lot of times those balls are completed because the concepts present clean, defined throws just about any NFL quarterback theoretically could make. So there's always some plays where you go, wow, that's a great throw, no matter who it is, whether it's, the guys we think of as great, the Mahomes, the Allens, the Burrows. But, there's a lot of times, where it's defined for the quarterback and pretty much any NFL quarterback can make those throws. So it's always a combination of the pass game concepts and the quarterback. And in this game, because there were pass game concepts that were really NFL concepts, Hurts made some throws.
So yeah, those things matter. And this is something that I've talked about all the time, especially all last year, about these clearly defined throws, what a coordinator can bring to the table for a quarterback. And that is something that Jalen Hurts has just not consistently had. And he hasn't had it throughout the course of this season, clearly. Combined now with the fact that they're in so many 3rd and longs because they do these first down runs that go nowhere. 15% of the runs are for a loss, 2nd in the NFL, with the greatest percent of runs that go nowhere, that end up taking a loss. It is a tough existence. And what Nick is saying here is incorrect. Where he's saying, oh, well, if you're losing games, you're going to blame Andy and Mahomes. And it's like, what? I don't think he really fully blamed Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid when they lost. Because they lost now 4 of their last 5. Okay, they lost to the Bills. Patrick Mahomes had one of the worst games of his life. Right? And they were just like, the O-line, what do you want to do? It's a tough one. He needs to play better, but it was the worst game, and they were still in a position to win and missed field goals, and it's like, okay. And then the Broncos, Patrick Mahomes has a pick 6, terrible interception. I don't know if it ended up being a pick 6. The one pick 6 I think was called back, but a terrible interception in the red zone. And we got the obligatory, Mahomes has to play better, but he was like, but the defense, how they let up, how they let Bo Nix convert that and this and that. They forced, 3 and outs or no 3 and outs, like blah, 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 blah. And then they won. They beat the Colts. And it's like, your defense held them to 20 points. It wasn't all about the defense. It was all about Patrick Mahomes in the 4th quarter. And then now you lose to the Cowboys. That was a good game, 31-28. But then you lost to the Texans to 10. You scored 10 points. And it's like your defense lit up C.J. Stroud. And yet the topic of that conversation was Mahomes and Andy. Well, a little bit of Andy because of the play call about, in his own, 20-yard line, whatever it was. But it was just, I don't know if we really had a strong conversation about what are we going to do with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid right now. So not quite the reality there. You should have used other quarterbacks and coaches because Nick's very willing to do that with Justin Herbert and Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, but not Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think so. But I mean, Jalen Hurts needs to be better, undeniably. But also the way how this offense is constructed, the way how it's run, game planned, play called, etc., the execution, it is an uphill battle for Jalen Hurts. Things are made harder for him rather than easier for him. And I've talked about this so much, especially last year, specifically with Caleb Williams. The job of an offensive coordinator is to simplify the offense. And Greg Cosell, I remember because that's what he said, that he goes, the coordinator is simplifying the offense for Caleb Williams. And he said, and by the way, because he could already sense that people were starting to get angry. Simplify, does that mean you're saying he's dumb? And he's like, by the way, that is the job of every coordinator in the NFL to do that for their quarterback. Simplify doesn't mean dumb down and make it easy, elementary. It's to have these clearly defined route concepts that you are just executing the offense. And it's what makes Shanahan brilliant to play with. And I showed the clip before where Shanahan goes on a whole rant about where he's like, I do the hard work. I just want my quarterback just to run the offense. I do all the thinking. I do the chess playing. No one else, that's why I get paid to do. And the reality is that Jalen Hurts has not really had that. He had that with obviously Shane Steichen and with Kellen Moore to a degree, although, Kellen Moore, I think, is a good coordinator, but I don't think he's at the level of a Shane Steichen. But, time will tell. Obviously, it was a huge part as to why they won the Super Bowl. And again, he did a brilliant job in that Super Bowl of clearly defining the route concepts, cutting the field in half, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what good coaching can do. But just look at the final drive after they convert that first down. It's indefensible that they didn't just hand the ball off. Right? You have the defense huffing and puffing. They're getting angst. Just hand the ball off. Even just put in a Tank Bigsby there just to muscle his way through for at least 3 yards, 4 yards. Now it's just 2nd and 7. And then, heck, I don't know, maybe just do it again. Now it's 3rd and short, or you got another first down, right? I don't know. You got to have some sort of versatility, creativity, variability. But then they were like, nah, let's make our quarterback make a ridiculously difficult throw in the end zone. And it's just it's a tough one. And here's actually the interesting thing, though, because Jalen Hurts was pressured 18 times, which is good. That's a healthy amount of pressures. You're now up there. Patrick Mahomes was pressured 21 times, and everybody was like, oh my God, his O-line's terrible. And he was pressured 18 times. Here's what stands out more than anything to me about that. Jalen Hurts led the NFL in dropbacks with pressure that reached him in under 2.5 seconds with 7. So that O-line was not doing a good enough job. Patrick Mahomes was pressured, I forget whether it was 21 times, right? Where even is he? None of them were within 2.5 seconds. They were all after 2.5 seconds. And Jalen Hurts had 7 of his pressures. That means literally he is calling hike, and in a blink of the eye, it's got to react, got to move, got to do something. So, his time to throw was in those moments was 1.89. 1.89. So a third of his dropbacks in 2.5 seconds or less, a third of them dealt with pressure to 30%. To put that in context, Jared Goff, it was 15% for him. And I just use Jared Goff as an example of a quarterback who had a healthy enough dropbacks where it would, make sense, 21 attempts. And I could do it for all these quarterbacks, honestly. So, yeah. The voices who I really respect in terms of film breakdown, Dan Orlovsky, Greg Cosell, really two of my favorites with regards to that. A couple other people on YouTube and stuff, quarterback school, etc. They're really optimistic about what they saw. And their optimism makes me optimistic, honestly. It's just, I don't know. It's just interesting. It is interesting. They decided to do all these different route concepts for Jalen in the game against one of the best passing defenses in the NFL. And, you know, there were throws. Jalen was making some of these throws. Like, I'm just interested to see how this game ages. And I'm interested to see, I wish we could know how they're looking at the film. Like, what Dan Orlovsky's saying and what Greg Cosell's saying, like, is that what they're saying in the building? Are they like, guys, this was actually working. We just had a few, disconnects here, but like, this is actually good. Like, we actually unlocked something. We actually figured something out. Like, we're actually good now. And now you go up against the Raiders, who are obviously not good, and it'll be tough because I don't know. I don't know the type of game that you need. I think you just need a good, clean game. But it's just like, I don't know, even if they just win 21-7 or something, people would still probably be upset about that game potentially. But I mean, really just coming away with the win is the most important thing. But there are a few of these games, the Raiders, the Commanders, and whatnot, to really feel things out. And then you're going up against the Buffalo Bills, who have a terrible run defense. And then you're just like, well, all right. Can they get going now? Like, I don't know. Just interested in seeing how it all unfolds. The Buffalo Bills defense, run defense is almost as bad as the Philadelphia Eagles run defense, 132 yards per game. The Buffalo Bills, 135. They're bottom 5 in the NFL. They're up there with Washington, not a good team, which is also bodes well for the Eagles in that regard. New York Jets, obviously not good. New York Giants, not good. Cincinnati Bengals, come on. Then going up against the Raiders, though, decent, middle of the pack run defense, 113.9, so 114 yards per game. The Chargers were 109, and they were able to break out some runs against the Chargers. They just didn't want to keep doing it for whatever reason. So, there's still some things to figure out in these next few games. Maybe Kevin Patullo turns into a hero, and then everyone praises Nick Sirianni and Harry Roseman for not firing him mid-season. Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts gets another MVP, and then people lose their minds. Will it happen? You have to just wait and see. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles? What's the biggest reason for their 3-game slide? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.